Hey everyone, I'm back again. I'm gonna be planting tomatoes and peppers today. It is the middle of February in zone 8A, so it's about that time to plant our tomatoes, peppers, and any like warm weather crop that we want ready in the summertime. So how I do it is I pick out my peppers and tomatoes that I want to plant this year. I'll put them in little pots like this that I just reuse year to year. They're really flexible, thin plastic that my parents gave me a couple years ago. They had ordered some lavender, came in a big stack of these pots, and I've just kept them because they're easy to start my seedlings in. I like these over things like these. I have said in other videos that I keep these that I buy at like Lowe's or any store that I'm buying, like tomatoes. These had tomatoes in them in 2020, it looks like. I keep them and reuse them. I like putting my tomatoes in something like this versus something like this because the roots quickly grow. And then when I replant, I can let them go a little longer in these without having to repot multiple times. I do end up having to repot from this one to usually something like this or a little bit bigger just to help with the legginess. I'll plant it deeper in a pot like this, where as you can see there's some depth here, just to like encourage the growth of the roots before I transplant into the ground after our last frost. So I like starting my tomatoes in something like this. Like this would be fine for peppers. They do root really quickly for me, but I mean, it is whatever you have, whatever you can make work. So this pot's something like 8 ounces. Maybe this one is more of like a 24 ounce or something like that. I think in milliliters because I'm in healthcare, so this is 250 or 240 milliliters just about. Not really sure how many milliliters this one would be, but and then opposed to like these are pretty small, maybe 120. This one's 120 milliliter container. And I do prefer these because, like I said, they're flexible. You can get the root system out easily, and the holes are bigger in these versus these. So when your tomatoes start to kind of root out the bottom, like these ones are long instead of big round holes. When your tomatoes do start to root out the bottom, I like when I transplant not to pull or break as few roots as possible. So I like these holes because they're bigger versus these. A lot of the times my roots will snap and break when I'm transplanting. So what I do is I just pick out my tomatoes, peppers, whatever I want planted, and I kind of get a tray full of potting soil that I'll show you here in a second, and I just scoop into my containers however many seedlings I want, and then I just place in another tray. Again, I've kept these from year to year. I like this one because it doesn't hold the water, but then I have others that do hold water. So depending on what plants like to stay moist, like to kind of like self-water from the root, either or is really beneficial. So that's that. I put mine in this tray, fill this one up. I've got another one, and then I'll put them into our grow light area where they can be like temperature controlled because it is 40 degrees out right now. So I know they say plant mid-February. If you had a greenhouse or something, you could put them in there, or you could just keep them indoors. I used to have a grow light that hooked to a table and then would shine over my plants. And that worked really well for us until I started wanting to do like mass batches of tomatoes because I love tomatoes. I'm going to talk about those here in a second, which ones I decided to grow this year, and some of my like goals, plans on my seed selection this year too. So yeah, here is my, where is it? Oh, here it is. Here is my potting soil mix. I've talked about this before, I think, It's like equal amounts coconut coir, nursery mix, which is just like a good garden soil, and compost. I've also added peat moss in there this year, just because it holds good moisture. As you can see, it kind of like sticks together real well. So it will hold good moisture. The seedlings like that. And it's, I don't know, it always seems to work for us. This worked for me last year. Coconut coir, compost, and some like topsoil. So this year, instead of topsoil, I used just like a decent soil mix. Coconut coir, peat moss, added that this year, and compost. I use the Just Natural compost. It's cow manure. It's natural and organic. I like that over the Black Cow. And then, so I'll just pot in these little guys, scoop my dirt, set them aside into my rack, and put my stuff in there and label them. And now I'll talk about which seedlings I decided to use this year. Okay, all right, so this year I decided that, I don't know if any of you guys know this, but I have this cute little seeds container that my mom got me. I think it was from Tractor Supply. Either she got it for me or it was a hand-me-down. But either way, it's adorable. I keep all of my seeds in here from year to year. Yes, I used to stockpile seeds. Yes, I realize they do not grow well at the older that they get, but you live and you learn, okay? So one of my goals this year was like to try to clean out my seed container. Like I have so many seeds in here. They are slightly organized. I've got like beans, melons, tomatoes. I love tomatoes, so I've got like a whole thick stack of tomatoes. I've got tons of herbs that I did buy this year. And then ones that I've kind of started to do on my own. I've got these cute little Let Love Grow seedling packets. I love these because it will say Let Love Grow. It tells you your type, your variety, your date, and then like your growing notes. And then it has from the garden of, can you see that? From the garden of your name at the bottom. So you could even give these as little gifts if you wanted to. They're so cute. And I have been trying to, like the heirloom seeds that I have bought from past years, dry out and then put these in my little grow packets. So I love these. But anyways, so this year one of my plans was to kind of go through my seed collection. So for my varieties that I've chose this year, I have beets here because I really want to put those in the ground. So that's in my pile. But anyways, for my varieties that I have chosen for tomatoes, I went strictly based off what we like. I like the smoky type of tomato that has like a kind of deeper flavor than like the store-bought. I know the store-bought, many of you growers that have grown from year to year and are very experienced maybe have realized that the store-bought tastes very watery. But because of that, I really like the smokier, more depth of a flavor, so like the darker tomato. And I've chosen indeterminates. There's a determinate and an indeterminate. A determinate is more of a tomato that will give you a ton of fruit at a certain time of the year. And an indeterminate is a tomato that will give you just throughout the summer large batches. It's not like the indeterminate gives you just a little sprinkling here and there. Like if you plant enough, you'll get enough to use and can. But I prefer indeterminate because I like tomatoes so much. We eat them so much throughout the summer. I like them fresh. I like to can them. I like to give them away. So I want my indeterminates. I want these tomatoes that I have planted to last me the entire summer season into the fall if I can help it. You know, we live in zone 8A, so it's really warm, even into August and September most of the time. So I prefer indeterminates. Determinates are for those that like to need a big batch of tomatoes so they can a ton of them. Maybe people making sauces, ketchups, barbecue sauces, stuff like that, who don't really like the fresh, or not so much don't like the fresh, but just want all of them in one big batch so you can them, process them, and get it done with. So I prefer indeterminate versus determinate. So the ones that I picked this year are just out of my stashes that I have had in previous years. Like some of these are listed from 23. These are listed from 23, so I'll go through those also. So just this year, I thought I would plant these in some pots on my porch. I have a much bigger porch this year. So I was gonna plant these tomatoes, Garden Delights. They're not supposed to get very big. They're a container variety, 67 days to harvest, and they were packed for sale in 23. So they're about 2 years old. So I was gonna plant all of these and just see what came up and then put them in containers on my porch because they're a little bit smaller variety. And then this is some of the smokier tasting tomatoes that I've talked about that I like are the Cherokee Purple. So these are both Cherokee Purple tomatoes, 2 different companies. Again, part of my stash. This ones were packaged in 23 and these were packaged, I want to say these were packaged in like 22. I've had them for quite some time. But both of them are heirloom variety, so we'll see if that makes a difference for them coming up or not. And I'll probably plant all of these. I love these tomatoes. I love to eat these on a sandwich. I make tomato and onion sandwiches with mayonnaise, and I've been making those for 11 years, and my husband just last year realized, oh, these are delicious. And yes, they are. So I need extra of these this year because I go through some sandwiches. I also like to can mine, make marinara sauce, spaghetti sauce. This year I'm gonna try ketchup and barbecue sauce, so we'll see what's up with these. But I love this flavor. That's mostly what this is. I love this flavor of these. I've also got Brandywine, which is, are these 2. I have planted from Bentley's before. I loved these. They came up great last year. These were packaged in 24 and these were packaged in 23. So we'll see how many of these come up. When I plant, I usually do plant 3 to a pot. And then I'll either go through and if they all look great, I'll separate when the root system gets a little more developed and plant each one in an individual pot. So I end up with more than what I like originally planted in these. But that's for a later video, I guess. So, these 2 also, my Brandywine mix, these are great. I planted German Giants one year. I got tomatoes as big as the size of my hand and they were so pretty, great for slicing. I loved them. So I think this is kind of a German Giant, German pink variety. So I'm gonna plant these this year also. This was part of my stash. These were packaged in 24. So not bad, not that old. And I'll plant all those also. And then my black crimson, I really like the flavor of these also. Let's see, there we go. And I feel like a makeup person. Like I watch those makeup videos and I'm like, they're all like this. That's me, except with seeds. So these were packaged in 23 also. So we'll see how those come up. I also have some of the ones that I picked last year that ended up really well for us. These are just tomatoes. It says big boys from 23, so maybe these were my good, like they came up well in my soil that I had last year. So I'll plant a few of these of my own and make little notes and see if these come up also. And then for peppers, I've got, my husband's favorite is habanero peppers. So these were packaged, these were packaged in 24. I'll plant some of those. And then these are Bentley's variety. They're heirloom, I think. No, they're not. Okay, so these are Bentley's, from Bentley Seed Co. habanero peppers also, and these were packaged in 24 also. So I'll plant some of these as well. He really likes those. We make our own hot sauce and it's great. He puts it on everything. So he likes to experiment with like pineapple habanero hot sauce, and he likes to do chili hot sauce. We planted Tabasco's one year that he made like OG hot sauce with, and cayenne pepper and like basil hot sauce, which was really good one year also. So you gotta have a lot, and then I take them to work and give to a lot of people there also. So another ones we're planting are Serrano and Anaheim chili. These were both packaged last year. They did really well for me, so I'm gonna try these again. Probably plant all of the seeds in here just in case I get some that don't come up or whatever because of the age. And then Last ones are chili, Tabasco, and cayenne pepper. All three I saved, these two I saved in 23 and these I saved in 24. So there they are. And I can have him, I guess people do this, put a link to these in their description in case anyone wants to buy them. I don't know what that does for me, and I genuinely don't care, but I do really, really like these seed packets. I like the variety that you can make and the little notes that you can put on the back. And that's that. So I'm gonna get to planting. Okay, so I would say that was pretty successful. I was able to clear out like a good amount of seed packets that have been just hanging out in my seed storage. So I will say that the ability for your seeds to germinate is said to decrease over time the longer the seeds have been stored, as long as they're stored properly, like with low humidity in a cool space. The viability of the seeds doesn't degrade as rapidly, but unfortunately I didn't keep mine that way. I kept them in a shed in the heat of the summer in a plastic tote bin because I had so many. So I guess I'll have to work on that. I've been keeping my seeds in this tin thing in my house in my pantry, which is like a dark, cool place, obviously. So we'll see how the new ones that I do get, go from year to year. I'll also say that it's not necessarily true that none of them will germinate. It's just that the germination decreases over time the longer they've been stored. So some of these have been stored since 22, 23, which is 2 and 3 years. If they were like onions, I've read that those are the type of things that only last a year, especially like in your sets. But things like tomatoes and other seeds do last a couple years. It's just you may not get a seedling from each seed that you plant, which is why I mentioned that instead of planting in sets of 3, like I usually put 3 seeds in my little pot, I put a good couple. Some of them I put 6, 10 because I wasn't sure. And you can always go back and separate if they all come up. You can wait till their root systems are a little more developed and then separate and put each one of them in their own little pot. I know like with carrots and stuff, you thin and you can't really replant those thinned pieces because you've sowed it into a row. Whereas with like my tomatoes and my peppers, I can always use the rest of my little pot stack and thin the ones and toss out the ones that are just not doing great, or thin them so I'm replanting all 6 seedlings that came up in different pots. So yeah, I thought I would just talk about that for a minute. But I cleaned out a good amount of them, and I labeled each and every one of them with the year that they were, their sell-by date and the package date. So I'm curious to see which ones come up, and I even put some of mine in there that I packaged in like 23. So we'll see. Bye for now.